Okay, so that brings us to our speaker for tonight. So you think you know her, but I want to make sure you do know who our speaker is. So Sue's been an ecologist with Howard County Recreation and Parks prior to retirement for over 30 years. She was born in upstate New York. She studied wildlife management at West Virginia University. Her interest in nature environment began much earlier than that, however. Quote, when I was 7 years old, my parents gave me a pair of binoculars and a bird watching guide. I remember being upset that I couldn't see our state bird, the eastern bluebird, which was in decline, or our national symbol, the bald eagle, because it was on the endangered species list. That gave me an interest in preserving and saving at-risk animals and plants, unquote. Before Howard County Recs and Parks, Sue was a U.S. Park Ranger in Great Falls, Maryland in 1986. In her role with Rec and Parks, Sue organized initiatives like Maryland Amphibian Reptile Atlas, weed warrior projects to combat invasive plants or stream cleanups. And in her capacity as an ecologist, she was an enthusiastic member of environmental groups such as the Howard County Bird Club, yay, and the Maryland Biodiversity Project. And as many of us know, Sue is grateful to be able to provide guidance and advice as a mentor, as many of us have seen in her breeding bird atlas posts, which are extensive and tremendously educational. And so rather than me talking anymore about the breeding bird atlas 3, I'll defer to Sue for tonight's focus. And that talk being Finding Eagles and Owls for the final year of breeding bird atlas 3.
Thank you, Greg. I gotta put my microphone on.
Okay.
They're gonna get a drink of water too. So we want water up here. Okay, so microphone. Okay, everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Greg. I wanted to add just a smidgen to that introduction. I've done several presentations for this club before, like Frog Watch, Cold Stun Sea Turtles, the Herp Atlas, Polar Bears. I have never given a talk on birds. Bird Club, yeah. And so Mary Lou, thank you, our program chair, for finally getting me to talk about birds. And so it's not hard to get me to talk about my favorite subject right now these days, the Maryland Breeding Bird Atlas. And my theory was honing in on eagles and owls. They're charismatic species. Everybody knows them, right? And it would draw some new faces. And I think we do have some new faces in here, as well as some of my regular atlasers who go out all the time. And when I say you think everybody knows eagles and owls, I do have to share this story, and you're going to learn I tell lots of stories. Back when I was working, and this would go back probably to the late 90s, early 2000s, I had a man call me. I was sitting at my desk to tell me he thought he had a rare and endangered bird on his roof, and he didn't know who to tell. So am I the right person? And I'm like, oh gosh, yes. Cheryl, I don't know if you remember this, back when we were in cubicles. And the man had, so I said, can you tell me about the bird? What color is it? And he said, well, it has a brown back. I said, oh, okay. And did you see what color head? Yeah, it's red, because oh, by the way, he thought he had a bald eagle. There we go. I'm sorry, I left that part out. He calls it, well, it's a bald eagle, which was endangered at the time. And so, right, and he tells me he has a red head. I'm like, I have to burst this man's bubble and tell him he's got a turkey vulture. So you think everybody knows eagles, but so there was one person in Columbia that did not. And so that's how I've been doing this program. I've modified it somewhat, but I've been doing it like at community centers, trying to engage the community as opposed to just birders, because a lot of records for the Breeding Bird Atlas are on private property. I mean, how many people in the last, say, since the new year have been hearing owls or seeing owls? And look at the hands, see? That's what it takes. And so, so here I am tonight, and I'm delighted. Like I said, I always look at myself as being your entertainment for the evening. And like I say, it's a passion of mine, my first passion in life, birds. So I'm very happy to be able to be talking about this. So this is my arrow, yeah. I do not remember where I took that picture, sorry. Usually I do, but for whatever reason I couldn't. So now we're gonna see if we go to the next slide. There we go. So I wanted to just briefly my goals for tonight. Obviously keep in mind that I have a very diverse group here. I have people who atlas, almost 365 days a year, it seems like me. I've got people that just occasionally atlas in their yards. Or people will, Sue, I have an owl in my yard. You want to come check it out? They don't really want to atlas, but they know I'm looking for owls. So they let me know. In fact, when I leave here tonight, I am going to one of those people who said he heard an owl in his yard last night at 11 o'clock. I said, I will be over there right after this program is over and play some calls. We're going to talk about that. So eagles and owls tonight, we're gonna start with the breeding bird atlas. We're gonna be talking about the first slide, just the background information, what it is, just to make sure everybody, has some background, because I know there are some new people here that don't know too much about it. But that's my challenge, to make a little bit of everything for all the different kinds of, atlasers I have in here. We're definitely gonna listen to the sounds of all these birds, because that really is a major way to find these birds as you hear them. And nesting locations we're going to talk about, and my most favorite is to motivate and inspire all of you to help. You know that phrase, it takes a community to raise a child? It takes a community to document breeding birds. And like I say, it's the smallest Sue, I hear an owl in my yard, let me know. And by the way, Mary Lou is going to be at the back at the end of the meeting. If you do not have my email address, it is on the bottom of here. This little handout card, she'll be there handing them out if you want to get my email, and it's up on the screen if you want to take a picture of it later. And I do want to give a shout out to Dave Zilkowski, the co-coordinator. He's the most amazing, and he couldn't be here tonight. Imagine this, he's getting ready for a big trip to another country with people from Cornell looking for rare birds. So we will excuse that Dave wasn't able to join us tonight, but if there's a question you have for me that I cannot answer, trust me, Dave can answer it. He's amazing. We're very lucky to have him as well. You can also give me your email. I brought a notepad and pen if you want to just write it down, either or. How many of you, just out of curiosity, here in person are actually on my email list that I have for the Atlas? Oh, half of you at least, so excellent. And I'll talk about my list throughout the presentation. That is a barred owl, of course, and we're going to talk more about those. There we go. So here's just the background about the breeding bird atlas for those of you who don't know. It is a 5-year study that started on January 1st, 2020. So what does that mean? That we are in our last year of data collection. And you know what I realized today? We have an extra day this year because it's leap year. We actually have 355 days left to document birds in this county and around the state, not just Howard County. And we're going to talk about that too. And we map everything in 10 square mile blocks. And I brought this real quick. These studies do get published. This was the last breeding bird atlas. We do them around every 18 to 20 years in the state of Maryland. And basically, when we do these atlases, we can compare changes in breeding distribution of birds. We're going to look at some of that are really cool. We may talk about a couple that aren't so cool that we have lost as breeders. But that's why it's so important for people to help document breeding birds. Yes.
And if you contribute to the Breeding Bird Atlas, your name will be in print.
Yes, and for students in the room, wouldn't that look cool on your resume that you were a part of the Maryland Breeding Bird Atlas from 2020 to 24? You can prove it. Your name is in the book. Yes, indeed. Very, very good, John. Thank you. And so let's see. As I said, we have 10 square mile blocks. So here in Howard County, we are assigned 24 blocks. And around the state, look at that big number. There's 1,292 blocks across the entire state. And trust me, Howard County is about the most surveyed county in the state. And the challenge is to get people to help in other counties. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. And then let's see, right. So the data is mainly collected by volunteers, and we use eBird on our cell phones to collect the data. If that's too much to ask, if you really don't want to, I can't handle another app, I can't handle another technology thing, you can invite Sue over. You've got that nest of barred owls in your yard. I'll come do it for you, okay? Really need your documentation. If you have a robin nest in your yard, I'm probably not going to come over and do that because we have robins in all our flocks, but certain birds, yes. And right, this is not the prime breeding season for birds, but it is for eagles and owls and pigeons. We're out of here by 9, right, Greg? I have to end by 9 with questions. Okay, we probably will have time. I have a courtship video of pigeons. Yeah, well, they are a breeding bird, and we still need to document a lot of them. And so great horned owls, barred owls, bald eagles, they are the early nesters of the season and mostly what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Yay. Okay, so I mentioned we had 24 blocks. We are sitting right here in what's called Clarksville Center East, and we actually have the primary atlaser for this block, Cheryl Fafaris, sitting right over there.
Actually, it's really John.
Oh, is it? I got you guys.
Well, I'm the
mixed up.
coordinator, but only because I knew he was gonna do most of the birds.
Oh, gotcha. Teamwork. And I will point out that this block does not have barred owl confirmed. It does not. All you volunteers, Pam, be on the lookout for, well, it's a little early, but maybe someday some volunteer will find baby owls up in the trees or something.
We heard him in a couple days ago.
Oh.
We need to go back.
Yeah, those of you on the computer, if you didn't hear John Harris, he was saying that there were some barred owls heard in Clegg's Meadow at the Middle Patuxent Environmental Area, so that's encouraging.
In this block.
In this block. Oh, that makes my night, John. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, he knows. Yep. So, this list of birds, these 19 out of 100, we have confirmed breeding here in Howard County, 100 species of birds. And 19 of them have been found in all of the blocks. A quick scan, you can see those are all very common birds, mostly yard birds. Now, the Canada goose, probably not so much a yard bird, but come on, it's such a big bird. You just find a pond and you can find them around here. They like sediment ponds, etc. And of course, a bluebird and a gray catbird. I had to pick different birds that weren't owls and eagles because I have so many pictures of them. But so essentially, we have 19% of our birds confirmed in every block. That's going to go up as the season goes on because we have a handful of blocks like the block you monitor, I know needs American Crow, and that's our, I'm pointing at Robin Todd. And we only need one more American Crow and it's in that block. We're going to get that, you know, things like that. So enough on that. Oh, just for fun, most of you of my generation know, oh, you know this. Who?
Rocky Mountain High.
Oh my goodness gracious, I'm shocked. Awesome, yeah. Getting back into my thing about eagles is my most favorite bird. And as a kid, probably your age, even younger, I would hear that song. I know he'd be a poor man if he never saw an eagle fly. I just became obsessed with, I wanted to see an eagle. And it, like you said in the introduction, it just really bothered me as a kid that I couldn't see my national symbol. Do you know his other song, The Eagle and the Hawk? I am the eagle, I live in high country and rocky cathedrals that reach to the sky, and all those who see me and all who believe in me share the freedom I feel when I fly. Oh, I love that song. Yeah. Oh. It's a heart-moving song for me. I just, yeah. Okay, so on with the more stuff. So bald eagle, let's look at a status review of this species now that I've talked so much about the eagle. And that one I do remember, that was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I led a trip for the Columbia Ski Club. I know we have at least one member in the back here from the club to Pittsburgh, and it snowed that night. And look at that picture I got. I was like, oh, doesn't take much. So anyway, I think everybody knows this bird was endangered because of DDT, the pesticide. And back in 1963, it was listed as endangered, but we did not have the Endangered Species Act yet for another decade that was passed by Congress. I remember when that was passed, I was a kid. And that allowed a lot more protections for the bird. And as we all know, is one of the greatest success stories of the Endangered Species Act was the bald eagle. And it was delisted in 2007. I mean, that was already like 15 plus years ago. It's like, wow, that long? And then here in Maryland, Maryland has what's called the RTE list, which is Rare, Threatened, Endangered list. And that was delisted in 2010. And as a result of that, we had 44 nesting pairs in 1977. I had to look at that, 1977. And now there are more than 1,400 pairs. And because they delisted it, DNR no longer monitors the nests. There was a time you roped nests off for a good distance around them and nobody was allowed to be near them. We've had them nesting, we'll show you, on cell towers right next to I-95. I mean, traffic just buzzing by, it's amazing. So here in Howard County in the wintertime, like right now, we do have a lot of eagles here in the county, many that have come from the north, and you think I'm from the north, you know, the Great Lakes, Lake George up in the Adirondacks, you know, when those lakes, if they freeze, you know, these birds do like to fish, although they will eat roadkill like deer. You know, they are attracted to that big body of water we have called the Chesapeake Bay. And then now we have all these man-made lakes and ponds and, well, lakes, I guess, really, that now a lot more of them are hanging out here in Howard County. And I remember that one right there came from Wild Lake. Those of you who were on my email list back in work, it was the first email of the new year. I want to say either 18 or 19. There was a fish kill at Wild Lake and all the eagles were there. And my email that went out in the new year was the eagles have landed. And if you've never seen one, you want to photograph them, just go to Wild Lake. They are there. And so popular locations, I probably really don't need to tell you all that, but Conowingo is one of those places that sometimes you can see golden eagles, Blackwater as well. In Tridelphia Reservoir, we have a nest on it. We had 2 nests on it. The second year, that one failed as it was being built. One of the pair died. Not sure why it died, but it was found dead by several people. And then the Columbia Lakes, I believe we have one somewhere here in Columbia. We haven't found it yet. Hint, hint. Your mission. So now this is where I did want to thank John McKitterick. He spent some time on the phone with me, emailing, because I put links in my program and the sounds of the birds. I think if I understand, you have to like embed them into the PowerPoint. It was some work for him to do, and I appreciate it, John. So here was my first link. I wanted to take a look at the Bald Eagle Atlas maps and take you to the Howard County Bird Club website, where all these maps are for every species in the county. Okay, so when you go to the Howard County Bird Club website, this is where I use my little, there we go. Under birding here, you would click down to breeding bird atlases, and that's where you would come up with the breeding maps. Okay, so this is only like half of the page. There's more birds down here. So we're going to go to the bald eagle page and show you how the maps have changed over time. Remember, that's one of the reasons we do atlases. All right. So we had 3, you see 3 maps. The first one at the bottom where it says no records. Howard County and Montgomery County were the 2 counties in the 70s that did a pilot atlas. And that pilot atlas is what led to the first statewide atlas, which is the second map, 1983 to 1987. And then the last atlas was 2002 to 2006. So you can see in the pilot project, There was not even an observation of an eagle in the 70s. Then you get up into the early 80s and there's 3 block, whoops. What did I do? Okay, wrong button, sorry. There's 3 blocks like right in here that were observations. Wow, 3 eagles were seen in that atlas, like, oh my gosh, in 3 blocks. Then you get up to the last atlas, which was 2002. There are 6 blocks confirmed breeding. You know, that is why we do, one of the main reasons we do atlases, we can compare changes over time. Now, I don't have the power to click different birds, but the osprey, which is just, I believe, above bald eagle in the list, if you were to look at those maps, that is dramatic. We have never had an osprey nest in a breeding bird atlas in Howard County, not in all 3 of those maps. They would be blank. Actually, the top one probably had some observations, something like that. But the first breeding osprey have been found in this atlas. Not 1, not 2, I think we are up to 10 nests. Yeah, wow. And every single one of them is on a cell tower. I love you. Yeah, a cell tower, every single one of them. And I believe in 3, at least, I was looking at my list, I keep track of the eagles and the owls, you know, how many we have. When I was looking at the osprey, 3 of them were last year new nests. I believe this year we should have even more. And one of them is at Maryland Farm, which is the block I'm the primary atlaser for. They have a cell tower. It's across the road from the pond area. It was like their strawberry patch 2 years ago, I think. And I watched them building it this year. So I was ecstatic to have an osprey in my block. So pick any bird. You could pick American robin. Every map, black, 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 because they're found breeding in every block. Why? Because of grass and lawn and neighborhoods. The only thing that would probably ever change that map over time that I can think of is some virus that comes in and kills thrushes or something and wipes them out, you know? Houses and lawn aren't going anywhere. So probably enough said on that, I think. So what do we look for when we're trying to confirm eagles? So this is a photo by Kristen Troughton, by the way. I honestly don't have a photo of an eagle carrying nest material. I can't believe it. Because the camera's with me all the time and I click away. Those of you who've been with me know I do that. So we look for them carrying sticks at this time of year. Those that already have nests, they are adding sticks to their nest. We look for their aerial displays, which is another slide or 2 yet to come. And I'm going to kind of demonstrate their courtship display. It ought to be interesting. And I always want to know what direction, especially with that stick. You know, if you tell me, you know, I saw a eagle with a stick. I was sitting at a traffic light on 175 and I saw it going, you know, right down the highway and a little northward up toward maybe Centennial. Then I would be, remember that email list I've been talking about? I'd be like, hey team, we've got an eagle heading up towards Centennial with a stick. Who can find that nest? Just to alert you, hey. Yeah, and I got another good story about with the courtship display about that. Carrying fish, sometimes it matters, especially if you repeatedly see them like every day, like flying, you know, right past my house every morning carrying fish. They come back again, they're probably going to a nest, but you got to remember when they catch a fish, they're not eating it in the water. They do need to take it somewhere and eat it themselves. You don't always know that they're carrying food to feed young, which is one of our breeding codes. We're going to talk about breeding codes a little bit at the end if there's time. And then the call, this is key. I was in the Home Depot parking lot, I believe it was last year, and this came out on the email list, those of you who probably remember this story. And I got out of my vehicle to go in and I heard an eagle and I stopped. What do? You hear an eagle, you stop, you look up. Okay, oh, there it is. I'm like, yes. And I heard another one. Next thing I know, there's 2 eagles. It's a sunshine of a day. And some man in his truck gets out and he comes over, he goes, you're standing looking in the sky, smiling. What are you looking at? Don't you see them? I said, there's two of them. I said, we might see a courtship display. We didn't, but they went on down 175 and it just made my day. Yeah, I'm standing in the parking lot looking up smiling. So let's look at the call. Let's listen, everybody. And I'm not sure how this will sound at home, those of you on the computer.
Should go right through.
Oh, okay, let's try this. I see people smiling. Yeah, that's, you hear them, you gotta stop and look, what are they doing now? They may have a stick in their talons, because that is a confirmation of breeding, and that's what we are looking for the breeding bird atlas. Let's see what's next. Oh,
my God.
Yes, Jim Wilkinson sent this picture, and this was like much later in the breeding season, probably like May or whatever. I said it, I was like, what is that bird doing with that this late in the season? And Dave's response, Dave Zolkowski, you know, perhaps it was, you know, as the baby eagles get bigger, the parents get fish, they just drop them in the nest and then go off to get more, because then the babies have to learn to tear the fish apart. And then after a while, it can get a little smelly up there if there's remnants of fish, and that maybe it was bringing some fresh nesting material to put over all that stuff. I thought that sounded pretty good. I love that picture. I wish it was mine. I wish I could just see something like that. Isn't that amazing? All right, what's next? Okay, now we're going to talk about the love is in the air. I used to work with Rec and Parks, and it was December 13th, 2019. I did a deer hunt at West Friendship Park. I'm sitting in the car in the front, waiting for the hunt to end. I'm on my cell phone, yakking with my brother. I've got the windows down. I heard an eagle. I looked out the window, blue sky. I'm like, whoa, Bob, there's an eagle. Next thing you know, I hear a second eagle, and they're, whoops. Let me see if I can get my arm out of this cord. Okay, so I've got two eagles, and they do these circles next to each other. And then they get closer and closer till one is under the other one. It turns upside down. They lock talons in the air. That is that moment right there. That is not a National Geographic cover photo, but it's my photo. I witnessed that courtship display. It's the only time in my life I have ever seen that. And then once they lock their talons, they tumble down through the air and their wings are out. And before they reach the bottom, they separate. And in Dave Zolkowski's words, that is as good as an engagement ring. Yes. And the darn thing was, I love this club. They always laugh when I tell silly stories. It was 2019. The Atlas had not started. Yeah, I could not. But I had my email team already assembled with my primary atlasers, the person who adopted each block. And Mary Lou in the back and Sarah Romero, who moved to Italy after the first year of the Atlas. I don't know what she was thinking. They found, it was both of you, right, Mary Lou? Yeah. I had alerted everybody that this pair of eagles did that over West Friendship Park, right by the Howard County Fairgrounds. They're going to build a nest, and the question is where. You team, you need to find it. And probably within a couple weeks, they found the nest on the north side of Route 70 from the fairgrounds on private property, Rhine Landscaping. And if I remember, they were not aware that the nest was there. Yeah, they were not aware. So we're up to 7 nests, I believe, in Howard County. And like I said, I still believe there's another nest or two. So there you go. Love is in the air. You can still be seeing this now. That's why I say you hear an eagle, you need to stop and look. What is there two? What are they doing? Is it carrying anything? That's how we get these confirmations of eagles. Of course, finding a nest, that might be the next picture. Oh, yeah. So where do they nest? Well, cell towers. And of course, this beautiful, you see the eagle right there? That is right along the towpath, the C&O Canal towpath near, I probably had to walk like a mile south of Point of Rocks. I was just shocked, and this was in 2020, I believe, you know, everybody's, you're out by yourself with COVID, you're walking on the towpath with a mask, you know, and it's like, there's an eagle sitting in that nest. And it was a new documentation for the Atlas. Now this pair over here, that's a Dave Zolkowski find. He would go down 95 every morning, I think probably on his way to work. And he had found or noted the pair there being very active. And then suddenly he was only seeing one bird, which said to him, the other one is on the nest. So he's like, we're on the phone. We need to go out there and look. It's probably on that cell tower. So we met out there. And sure enough, there's the nest on the cell tower. And that pair nested there for 3 years. At the end of the second year, I won't say names of the utilities. The utility received a permit from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to remove the nest legally, but after the breeding season. So they weren't like, what was it, Calvert County Parks that took baby osprey out of a nest and euthanized him to change, wasn't it a light bulb?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, so anyway. And then they put the deterrents up. That might be the next picture. Yes. So you see all those shiny things up here? They flap in the wind and they make a little sound and they're colorful and shiny. And then you can see all the wires crisscrossed across the top that, you know, they've got a big wingspan and those birds, you know, hopefully weren't going to be able to get in there. But the third year they got through those deterrents and they built their nest again and had another brood. So at the end of the third year, they removed the nest again. And then this year, they added more deterrents, more wires, and this year they did not rebuild. I don't know where they went. But so again, cell towers are prime real estate if you're an osprey. And eagles still seem to prefer trees more, but they will nest on cell towers. Ravens are on cell towers. I'm waiting to find a great horned owl in the cell tower. Who can find me a great horned owl in a cell tower nest? Yeah, so deterrents, let's see what's next. Oh boy. Oh yeah, so I'm not going to talk much about this project. It has nothing to do with the Atlas. It's called the Maryland Bald Eagle Nest Monitoring Program, which is administered by the Maryland Bird Conservation Partnership. That's all way too long. There's the link to it, and I have 2 nests available to be adopted by a monitor. I believe the program requires you to visit the nest 3 times a year to document incubating, hatching, and fledging, basically, but you can go more. And there's a place online that you enter your, you know, I went out and I saw this kind of thing. So one of the nests is in Patapsco State Park. It's kind of, if you know where the B&O Railroad is, the first time I went to the nest, it was like a mile up through the, you know, woods and everything. But then I found a shortcut through county open space. You can park on a neighborhood road and it's about a 5-minute walk to the nest up in a tree. Now, the one at Cattail Creek, Connie found this one. Well, actually I found it, I guess, but I didn't know what was in it. It was Connie in the back there who determined that it was indeed a bald eagle nest. I don't think I ever sent this email out to the team. What do you do when you're sitting on a school bus stop? I was literally sitting on 97 with the school bus, you know, with the red lights and looking what I always do, looking around, and I saw this gigantic nest in the tree and I was out looking for great horned owls. And I parked in the neighborhood, got out, walked along 97, you know, I was like, oh gosh, it's such a deep nest that if there was an owl in it, I can't see it. And Connie and her husband golf at the golf course whose property it was on, and she was the one who let me know eagles have returned. So very cool. So those nests are up for adoption. You can talk to me later. I can guide you on how to do that. And I should also point out today, I didn't have time to update. It's not an eagle, but Kurt Schwartz has been monitoring, or I shouldn't say monitoring. I gave him a link to all the owl submissions into iNaturalist for the last 4 years. Yes, and he's been getting several owl confirmations, baby owls sitting on a limb is great. Around the state is awesome. And I have another volunteer, Christina, and if you're listening, Christina, I'm sorry, I do not know how to pronounce your name. It's a long one. She's been doing purple martins, and today I looked at the Howard County hits, and there's a purple martin colony at the cemetery. I want to say it's Meadow Ridge.
Yeah, Meadow Ridge has one.
Yeah, but they're not documented.
Oh, they're not.
They're not. And I messaged the man who submitted the picture of all these purple martins sitting on the purple martin box. It's like, do you know if they actually, were breeding there? Were there babies? Oh, I don't know. But I need somebody that will take that.
I can do it.
You'll do it. Perfect. Sold. We'll talk about that later. So yeah, here, when I say I saw a big nest, it's a deep nest like that, very deep. And like I say, if there was a great horned owl in it, I'm not sure I could have seen it, That's not the nest from the golf course, but that was a good example to show what I meant. Let's see what's next. Okay, now I try to sprinkle in pictures and charts, maps, picture, keep everybody awake, right? So now we're going to talk about what's a very important task for those of you who are new. And actually, I think some atlasers don't know what block they live in. Remember, we have 24 blocks here in Howard County. You should know what block you live in. So when you go to that link up there, you come to this, and all these little things are blocks. But what you can't see, because it's chopped up, but just right up here is a box. You just type your address in it, or if it's your office address, your parents' address, any address. Put it in there, and it'll tell you what block you're in. The dot will appear on the map, just like that. Please go home and do that, people. You need to know what you live in. And then the next step is, okay, once you know what block you live in, where's the data for the block you live in or the block your parents live in, et cetera, et cetera. So that looks like this. This right up here, this is the Maryland DC Breeding Bird Atlas website. And you have two choices here. Over here, where it says Explore Atlas Regions, that is where you would type in, for instance, we're sitting in Clarksville Center East. You would type in Clarksville, then all the blocks will pop up down here, and you would just click on Clarksville Center East, and magically the data will appear for the block, what has been confirmed, what hasn't been confirmed, etc. I need everybody to do that, please. When we get a blizzard next month, what a great activity.
Yeah.
And so over here, you see this colorful map? This is called the Atlas Effort Map. And if you click that on, you come up with this beautiful map. And what this means, we're talking about the Atlas theme effort around the entire state of Maryland. You see this big black block. Howard County is right here, the center of it all. Montgomery County, very good, and Baltimore County. So basically this Piedmont section is well surveyed. You look out here in Washington, Allegheny, oh my gosh, these yellow blocks, they like hardly have any surveys. Down here in Somerset, southern like St. Mary's, Calvert, Charles, these places need help. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, my brother lives over, in that yellow block right there, or my sister lives over here, my niece is up here. They need to be, what are their addresses? I want you to check out what they need. If they need something like a bluebird or a tufted titmouse or a tree swallow, do they have a bluebird box in their yard? Just ask them. That's simple. You don't have to go up to their house and do a survey, but most people, I still think of that guy who thought he had a bald eagle and he had a turkey vulture, but most people know a bluebird, and if they got bluebirds nesting in their box, we can enter that data without you even going up there. So please keep all that in mind. Let's see. I guess that's all I was going to say on these. Yeah, I probably should keep moving along because we haven't got to owls yet. Oh, yeah. So switching gears, kind of, sort of. When we get back to why do we do atlases, and remember, we're looking at changes in distribution. That bird right there, how many of you saw this Mississippi kite in Rockville? I did, well, that's the picture, duh. Yeah, first time ever, Mississippi kite is nesting in the state of Maryland. That is a southern species. We also had an anhinga nesting here. These are species, but that was an Anne Arundel. Now, who asked me that? So I thought somebody said where. So again, we are seeing species moving northward. That's one of the reasons we do atlases, to see changes in distribution. And if you can't see the bird, it's right there. It was that year the schools were closed, and it was the basketball court. All the birders could just stand here on the basketball court and just wait for the birds to fly in and out of the tree. It couldn't have been a nicer place, really, for everybody to see it. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about owls. We have 3 owl species that breed in this county. There they are, the great horn, the barred, and the screech. And Mr. Zolkowski tells me that all 3 of these birds breed in every block in Howard County. Our mission is to find them. And again, you have friends and family around the state. Somebody have a nice wooded area behind their house. Say, hey, you ever hear owls at night right now? You know, can you record them if they don't know what they are? If they're singing, we can submit that as a singing bird is the breeding code. And that is Mary Prowell's box. She's a club member. I wish she was here. If I remember, she put it up in September, maybe October. It was in the fall. And that bird, along with a red face, the screech owl comes in red and gray phases, roosted in her box for most of the winter. And then when spring came and time to nest, it didn't nest there. But it was delighted people, to come see it and everything. But again, you can put up owl boxes and maybe attract them to your yard. They don't need a lot of, extensive pieces of woods like you would think. So we want to talk about safe dates briefly. It's a thing most people don't like. When we're doing our breeding surveys, for instance, let's see, the bald eagle, the breeding date, their safe date is April 15th. That means that all those birds from the north, they magically know they should be out of here by then. The migrants, gone, bye-bye, you're up north. And any eagle then that you would see on April 15, you could consider it to be here to breed. And that would mean you would give it a breeding code in your checklist. eBird, for you new people, you may want to join me in a field class or even a one-on-one. I've done one-on-ones with some people in here, teaching them how to do a checklist. I can't teach you that in an hour program. The great horned owl, though, that was December 15th. Anybody that's hearing great horned owls right now or seeing one, we need to get that into a checklist. If you don't know how to do that, I can do it for you and teach you how to do it as well. And the barred owl, did you realize it's January 11th? 4 more days, and we will be in the safe dates of the barred owl, meaning any barred owl you see or hear is going to be submitted into a checklist. Screech owl, though, big news here, team. I haven't sent it out on my email list yet. We're moving that date up because we have an early egg date. Yes, MOS, the Maryland Ornithological Society, and here in Howard County, we do keep track of the earliest known egg date for each bird. And so they've got some eggs in February for this bird. And Gabe Foley, who's the state coordinator, told me, I think this last week, that we could move that date up, and I will be sending that out. It'll be a date in February, I believe. Wow. Yeah. And the barn owl, we're going to talk about that a little more. A bird we believe we've lost as a breeder, unfortunately, in the county. So breeding status, and then we'll get back to pictures again. When we're doing our checklists, our breeding surveys, our breeding checklists in eBird, there's 4 different status areas that we use. An observation is not anything too terrific. It doesn't indicate breeding in any way, manner, or form. Possible, there's only 2 codes, I think, for a possible breeder. You have a singing bird, or you have the bird in habitat. You come across an owl sitting in a tree. Yeah, that's its habitat. Okay, I'll give it a habitat. Probable codes we strive for probable and confirmed. Probable is like you've got a male and a female owl sitting on a limb in a tree, or you have a pair of eagles sitting in a tree, and their breeding dates, meaning April 15th for eagles. The only time we go outside the safe dates, for instance, today if you saw an eagle with a stick, that is a confirmation of breeding. These birds are breeding now, but it's just if you see an eagle without a stick, you don't know, is that eagle here to breed or is that eagle a migrant? You don't know. But a confirmation is a confirmation. Somebody building a nest is a confirmation and should get coded as such in your checklist, regardless of the safe dates. And then, of course, confirmed is you have a nest. They're carrying nest material. They got, think of baby robins following mom and dad in the backyard, squawking, feed me, things like that. Those are confirmations. Or an iNaturalist, you see a picture of baby owls sitting on a limb, that's a confirmation. Even though I didn't take it, the person didn't do a survey, but I can contact them via eNaturalist and say, hey, tell me more, blah, blah. And we get records that way. All right, so now back to pictures. The great horned owl. Ooh. I love it. It's the biggest owl we have, probably like yay big, and it has feathery ear tufts, so people call it horned owl. And I think next is the sound. Oh, no. Oh, okay. So this one is Howard County. This was found by Tim Ray in Clarksville, Southeast. Great horned owls do not need like big pieces of forest like the Middle Patuxent Environmental Area behind the Nature Center here. There is a local road on this side, an exit ramp on the other side, and Route 29 just zipping on by. That's where that nest is. So anybody that's got little, fragmented pieces of open space in your neighborhood, that's where you can look for these owls. But key also is to know that they build their nests in, they don't build them, I'm sorry, that's a poor choice of words. They nest in an existing nest. In other words, like they really like, I think it's the next slide. Yeah, they really like red-tailed hawk nests. Joe Solon was probably listening. I remember early on in the Atlas. I remember her when we sat down because she was one of the previous coordinators, her and Bonnie. We sat down to talk about the Atlas and, blah, blah, blah. And I remember her saying to me, you are going to learn so much about birds over these 5 years. Boy, was she right. And so, right, I learned from her that they really like red-tailed hawk nests. And I keep a list. I have 5 red-tailed hawk nests from last year in Howard that I'm going to be looking at some balmy day in February, right? See if there's a bird sitting in the nest. And Connie will be checking out that eagle nest at the golf course. So let's listen.
So before you play that, I need to reshare the thing so the sound goes through to the people.
Okay.
So give me.
Do that now and I'll get a drink of water.
Deal.
All right. Are we having fun yet, everybody? Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, that was a big mouthful. Ooh, I talk a lot, don't I? Yes, David.
Make note that we put out observations in the breeding bird portal as opposed to the regular.
Yes, that's probably advanced birding. David's question was about reminding people, if you use eBird, there's a portal. A portal is like a door into a program. There's eBird Argentina, eBird Brazil, eBird California, eBird Maryland DC Breeding Bird Atlas. You need to choose the Maryland DC Breeding Bird Atlas or your checklist is not going into the database for Maryland. So that's an important thing to do. And of course, if you're new and you're like, what? We can talk on the phone. I can talk you through it. We can go out together and do a survey together. I'm hoping this weekend maybe to do an owl survey. There's some schools in Clarksville Center West that still needs great horned owl. But more on that later. You said I'm good to go, John?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if we can get that sound now with the great horned owl. This is the one that's kind of like the hoot hoot owl. Smiling. Yeah, so that's what you should be listening for now. I send emails about the great horned owl. I'll put the link in. You can take that email and forward it to your family and friends in other counties. Do you hear this in your backyard? You might get a hit. You get my message there about contacting friends and family around the state. Yep. And those on social media, I don't do Facebook. There's probably a few other, I don't have time. But those of you, people post these pictures on Facebook. You see somebody posting an owl in your neighborhood, or if you have a neighborhood chat or something, ask them about owls. Hey, got any owls in your yard? Or "Ooh, look at that picture." And I send that to Sue Muller, one of the county.
That's how I got the turkey, babies.
Yes, you got turkey babies. That's another one for backyard birds. My hen with all their little poults. I'm always telling people, yeah, you got any turkey? That's how I got them in my block. I was talking to somebody on the road. I was walking Duval Road. And I said, hey, you ever seen any turkey? Oh, yeah, they were in my backyard. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's move on. So now we're going to talk about the barred owl. Oh, and so one more last thought, because I remember Dave in the back wanted, how do I find owls? Right now, when it comes to great horned owls, it's noting where are those big net in the, with the leaves down, especially in the hardwood trees, it's easy to see. They do like to nest in the pine and spruce trees also. They just don't stand out to you like the other nests do in deciduous trees, but make mental notes where they are, because in a month from now, on a balmy day, you might want to go back and see, you got to take your binoculars or your camera with a zoom and, into the nest to see, is there try and get a couple different angles and see if you can see the head and the ears popping out. Not ears, but you know what I mean. So the barred owl is our more medium-sized owl, and it's a round head with no feather tufts on it, and has those round discs in the face. This one is really common. I like finding them around swamps and riparian areas, like streams, rivers, but they can be in your neighborhood. And they sound, I think, next. Whoops. Uh-oh.
Go.
Oh, there we go.
My
Oh, yes. Bird ethics. This story, I can hear you all gasping. Some of you know this bird in Dorsey Hall. You recognize the tree. So I'm at work. This goes back probably 10 years, maybe not quite 10, but get a call. I believe a bird club member, or was it one of my volunteers? It doesn't matter. There's a bridge that you can stand on the pathway in the wintertime and clearly see these birds. That's where I took that picture from, was the bridge. Well, I get this call that there is a man standing underneath the tree, right underneath the hole. The owl often would sit up in the sun, and he had his camera on a tripod over here, and he was slapping the tree to try and make that bird, to make that bird fly, to get that National Geographic cover photo flight shot. That's not acceptable. And I'm sure you would all agree with me. And we, I spoke to our head park ranger. Hey, could you send some people down there to keep an eye? And they, for about 2 weeks, they said they just couldn't stop the flow of all these people with gigantic cameras. And, once a picture like that comes out, everybody wants it. And when it comes to documenting owl nests, I say, contact me before you submit a checklist, because chances are we probably want to wait till summertime when the babies are out of the nest and not bring attention to the nest by putting it out on the World Wide Web. Okay, please contact me for advice. We had one at a playground a couple of years ago. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at this area. You got to stand up here in the parking lot, and I'm like, all these people with their cameras aimed at the children. Now it's not going to work. Not to mention there was no parking. Look at all these cars zipping around looking for a parking place. No, and the person who found it did not submit it till like August, when the birds were long gone. And sometimes that's what we have to do to protect the bird. So, okay, that's my story about, so anyway, the barred owl nests in tree cavities. And when you see one sitting in a cavity like that, that's a good indication there could be a nest there. A lot of times, once we get past the calling season, we don't actually find a nest. It's listening for the baby owls. They have sounds, and I send those links out on that email list if you're not on it. What to be listening for, because those babies make a lot of noise when they're hungry and out of the nest. So let's see, again, it's look and listen. You know, if you're out walking your dog and like, wow, look at that tree cavity over there. I should keep an eye on that. You know, it looks big enough for an owl. You know, keep an eye on it. Or you go out at night or toward dusk, I should say, play a call and see if you get a response. And when it comes to nocturnal surveys, I should mention that we, only play 2 minutes of nocturnal calls. That is the protocol. You don't stand there for 20 minutes harassing this bird if one is responding. Remember, it is their breeding season and you don't want them wasting their energy to chase a human that's of no harm to them. They think you're another owl and they're spending their energy trying to get you out of their territory. So we do have a 2-minute protocol for calls. So let's listen to this. Do you need to do something, John?
No.
No, okay. Yeah, something's not right with it.
Think about imitating.
Who can imitate it? Somebody I don't know.
Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you also?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's okay, but owl is very good. Yeah, you hear it, you know, look around you. And again, no one friends. So now let's move on to the screech owl. Whoops. There you go. Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Where are you good?
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna try to go,
Wait a minute. Okay.
okay. Yeah, so the screech owl is our smallest owl, and the one we're not doing so well with in confirming here in Howard. We've only got 3 confirmed out of 24 blocks. I don't think that's very great. We're gonna put a lot of emphasis on looking for them this year. Let's listen to them. I didn't put all the other stuff, you know, about, you know, social media. It's repetitive. So let's listen. This is a neat sound. This one. Yeah, well.
Ralph?
You can
Ralph?
just get on my email list and get the link.
Ralph?
He's got it.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
Compare.
Yeah. Or, and that, yeah, I like that. Okay, and they're very small. You can compare that to the man's hand there. That is our smallest owl. Yep. And how to attract a screech owl? Again, that's Mary Prowell's box in her yard out in Damascus. Often they will come.
Is it an owl box?
Yes, it's a screech owl box.
Okay.
Yep. So now we're going to mention the current owl stats for Howard County. And there's one. This was your owl at the landfill, what, 15 years ago?
The BBA 3.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Two.
Okay. I came, it was in a tulip tree. Probably had a hawk nest right there, right in the crotch of the tree. Yeah. Okay, let's see the stats. So when you go to the DC Breeding Bird Atlas website, okay, DBB right there. Then you go to this Explore tab right there. And down comes the box, see, like change location. You can put any county, Carroll County, Prince George's County, or you can put the name of a block, whatever. So this is Howard, and all of the stats for all of the birds. This list would keep on going. And then John was kind and he highlighted just the owls right here. So this has actually changed since we did this a few days ago. The number, and I didn't want to bother you to update it. The great horned owl is now 1, 9, and 12.
Wow.
Woo, yes. Barred owl, we expect that to start changing, once they come into safe dates in 4 days. Screech, again, this is out of 24 blocks. So here we are at 19, 20, 21. That means there's still 3 blocks that don't even have a breeding code. Like haven't seen one, haven't heard one. We are going to change that. Now the barn owl up here is sensitive. That is considered a sensitive species across the state of Maryland. And we have not had a breeder here in a long time. Let's look at the map. I think that's the next, yeah. Oh, so here's barn owl. That's coming out of a silo. That was a really lucky shot, in all honesty. That was mine. The heart-shaped face. It's a good sized bird also. Not as big as the great horned. But lost as a breeder. We're going to look at the maps and then the sound. The sound is like, oh yeah, I see it. When I played it at home and the cats heard it, woke them out of a dead sleep. Yeah, sorry guys. Lost breeder, let's see. Yeah. So here's the, look at the pilot project, all those black blocks in Howard. Those were all blocks with breeding barn owls.
Wow.
Then you see it reduced to about half in the second atlas. And then the last atlas, there was 1 block way up at the top there. And we've not had any known in years, unfortunately. So then let's look at the, whoops, what happened to the sound?
I don't know.
Um,
Let me try and start it here.
okay. Yeah. Okay, good enough.
It's,
Let's move along. So how do we find owls? Is again, you look, listen, you hear them, you need to look around. What is the species? If it's a great horned owl, then you come back in the daytime. Where's, are there nests here? There's got to be a big nest somewhere. Take a careful look. Listening, reaching out to friends and family. I've mentioned that several times. And the nocturnal sounds. I have this lovely, I guess it's a Bluetooth speaker that syncs to the telephone. If you don't, and this one was maybe $35, not overly expensive. There are other kinds. And if you don't know how to sync it to the phone, I can get you somebody who will. I don't do technology. I'm scared of technology. Everybody enables me and helps me with it. So one of these is wonderful for playing owl calls at night. And again, 2-minute limit for nocturnal surveys. Oh, and the pigeons. Yeah. All right. We'll show you the courtship display just because we can. Yes.
Do you also want to talk about size as you play? Which song do you choose to play first on the callbacks?
On the callbacks. Good question. I might, the question was, what kind of calls do you use? Because like if you go to an app like I use Audubon app, Field Guide. If I went to Barred Owl, there would be classic hoots, I think. There's a male and female. There's a female. I usually just go for, I don't do the pair.
And what about order of
Of
play?
species.
Order of
Species.
play.
Species, you're supposed to start with the smallest owl because the others prey. If you're playing a great horn, good question. What order do you play size-wise of the birds? So the great horn being the biggest, you should play that last. But if you're targeting a species, like right now, I'm just going out and playing great horned owl calls. But next week, when I start with barred owl calls as well, I will be starting with the barred owl, then the great horned owl. Yes,
Thanks.
good question. Thank you. I've forgotten all about that. So pigeons nest year round. I was sitting at a traffic light in Greenbelt. Pigeons flew right in front of me and into a parking garage. Boom, into the parking garage. There's the bird on its nest. Now let's take a look real quick at what does courtship look like. I love this. This was in South Africa, by the way. Up next. You'll watch them go around in circles. I'll get out of the way. How puffed up he is on the right. Look at that, goes around in a circle. It's going, oh, she's turning around. Don't you love it? Love it. I'm not sure, do we like it? I know. Yeah, I believe pigeons are, is courtship the same in every continent? I believe so, like you could see this here. That, you know, pay attention if you hear them cooing and all. We need to be ending in 2 or 3 minutes. Well, I think we'll stop here. Oh, the happy couple, yeah. All right, one last story. I'm at a traffic light. Those of you on my video, who is at a traffic light? I got two cell towers in front of me. This is 216 right off 29. Binoculars, cell tower, nothing. Red light still, cell tower. Whoa, look at all those sticks. I send it out to the team. Who's by Chick-fil-A? The cell tower's like in the parking lot. Yeah. 2 or 3 weeks later, Tim Ray, he agreed to monitor it. The happy couple, he sends me the email. Osprey. Okay, so, and reach out and other kinds. Okay, we're done because we need to be closing up shop. I always pad extra in case nobody asks questions or, oh my gosh, yes, Connie.
I have a quick question. So I know I have a barred owl in this one area. How close might you see a gray horn? Do their territories overlap, or should I?
Let's have you ask that again with the microphone.
So if you know you have a barred owl, for example, how close might you see a great horned owl? How close can their territories be?
Well, I can tell you, I know, I'm not going to say his name because I know he's had problems with people showing up in his yard, but he has all 3 owls nesting in his yard.
Oh my God.
And he doesn't own 50 acres or anything by any means.
That's
So
surprising, right? I mean,
I find, to me, that was surprising, but we're learning. Yeah.
that's amazing.
I'm gonna put this thing to, any other questions? We still got like 2 minutes. We can,
From downrange.
is it gonna be published, the study? Yes. I think the question is it gonna be a digital publication this time, or will it be another hard copy? That is up, there's a steering committee for the Atlas. Nobody's talking about that just yet.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd like to see a book again. Yes, Sherry?
Is this something other states do and they
Is-
do a national
Yes,
collaboration?
is this something other states do? New York is currently in a breeding bird atlas. When I go to my family, I'm always atlasing in New York. North Carolina is in an atlas, and Pennsylvania just started January 1st. Yeah,
I've been hearing a pair of screech owls and area of woods behind my house. I put up a couple screech owl boxes. Besides that, is there anything else that I would need to do for them to help encourage them to stay around, or?
no, I think putting up the boxes is the best thing. But if they don't use your boxes, I mean, the fact that they're there, they can, because Dave says the screech owls don't migrate.
No,
yeah.
I've had them 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, so the best thing would probably be to be
Just
listening.
First meeting.
Listening for the babies later on in the season. And again, if you get on my email list, I always cue people in when to start listening for the baby owls in the blocks we need them. Where do you live?
Laurel.
Well, in Howard? Yeah,
Off
okay.
Foreman Road.
Okay, place. So, well, team, we can talk going out the door. I'm sorry I didn't leave a lot of time for questions. Literally.
So this is usually the point where I give her a coin, but she's already gotten her coin about 2 events ago. One thing about the coins, it isn't just me and Chuck and Val. If you have somebody you think's done good stuff for the club, let us know and we'll take care of that for you.
And remember, Mary Lou has my cards in the back going out the door. She'll hand it to you. Email is on the bottom. It goes to me and